Good morning, everyone. For Telesur, I'm Regan Devines in Caracas, Venezuela. Thank you for being here with us on From the South. Our top story takes us to Venezuela, where a federal judge has handed down hardline right-wing opposition leader Leopoldo Lopez with a jail sentence of nearly 14 years. He was found guilty of inciting violence in February 2014 that led to the deaths of more than 40 people. He was also found guilty of criminal association, but his defense lawyers said they would appeal the sentence. The ruling was celebrated by grassroots organizations who view Lopez as a dangerous conspirator. Protesters gathered near the court to hear the verdict.
The opposition lies. Their discourse is always about them carrying out peaceful marches when that is not true. So I show you this. What is this? Someone pointing a rifle. Is this peaceful, Mr. Leopoldo Lopez? You should pay for this, and for the 43 victims. We will continue fighting so that these regrettable events of last year are fully punished.
And while the court was in session in Caracas, crowds of protesters gathered outside to demand prison for Lopez. Right-wing opposition demonstrators gathered as well and resorted to violence. They attacked pro-government protesters. Various people were injured and a man died of a heart attack after observing the erupting violence. More protests are expected in the following hours. The protest had surprisingly also announced, the opposition rather, had surprisingly also announced injuries at a protest that had not yet taken place. We continue in Latin American news coverage. In Ecuador, President Rafael Correa has also implemented measures at the border with Colombia. Now, he said the situation there is tough, as smugglers from Colombia are involved in cross-border contraband of gasoline and other products. Correa cited the Colombian currency devaluation as one of the main reasons for the smuggling increase along the border. He said his government was taking specific measures to fight smuggling and improve the economic situation of border cities.
Smuggling is a serious problem at the border with Colombia. We are taking steps to control this situation. Another serious issue is the contraband of imports such as televisions from Colombia. They are not charging taxes to these products upon entry to Ecuador. I don't know where the tax was not being charged, but it will be from now on as to recover dynamism and competitiveness at the border and to protect domestic production.
Now we go to Colombia. That's where, in the wake of the National Day of Human Rights, concerns have been raised over the increasing attacks against human rights defenders. Solely in the first half of 2015, the We Are Defenders NGO registered 394 aggressions. Here is more with Natalia Margarita in Bogota.
A bullet left her with no chance of walking again, but Gloria is part of Women Walking for Truth, a group that has searched for hundreds that disappeared in the wake of a military and paramilitary operation in the city of Medellin. Her hopes have been raised as exhumations in what is believed as the world's largest urban mass grave are underway.
It is a matter of truth, but also justice. For us, it is like a symbolic compensation that has to do with finally unveiling the truth, finding the disappeared, and bringing relief to the relatives of those children and husbands whose lives have been taken by the conflict.
These women are part of those groups and leaders that have publicly received recognition for their dedication to defend human rights, a task that in Colombia implies a great courage.
It is an odyssey to defend human rights, as what we usually face are the economic interests of multinationals, of the government itself, but we also face the armed groups, as well as strong opposition from the oligarchy that want to wipe out and exterminate our territories.
These human rights defenders have been struggling for their territories, many times having to pay a high price for it. Just in the first half of 2015, 69 human rights defenders and political leaders were assassinated, according to United Nations records.
We have lost our parents, our children, and our brotherly campesinos in this struggle, which is usually not acknowledged but rather stigmatized. We are often not recognized as human rights defenders, and instead we are accused of being guerrilla defenders.
The assassinations are usually preceded by a stigmatization that frequently is coming from the state. Now, in the wake of the peace process, the social leaders are demanding the government cease the attacks against those that are the ones working for peace. Natalia Margarita, Telesur, Bogotá.
Bolivia's President Evo Morales said he is confident in The Hague's International Court of Justice jurisdiction. He also said he was hopeful it will rule in his country's favor in a centuries-old territory dispute with Chile that would grant the landlocked country Bolivia access to the Pacific Ocean. Chile had asked the court to throw out Bolivia's demand, but The Hague will announce its final ruling in the case on September 24th. The court has said its decision cannot be appealed by either country. Chile says the court has no jurisdiction in the matter, but Morales says otherwise.
From the moment that the court took the case, it knows it has jurisdiction, and that's why we must fulfill the international procedures with the international courts. And thanks to national and international experts, we fulfill them perfectly in order to develop this case before The Hague.
The United Nations General Assembly approved a global set of principles for sovereign debt restructuring, allowing countries to legally confront the pressures brought upon by creditors. Now, the resolution was inspired by Argentina's 2001 debt crisis, which drove the country to economic chaos. The resolution prevents creditors from applying abusive measures against governments. The resolution was voted 136 in favor and only 6 countries against.
It's a resolution in favor of our economic stability, social peace and development. Today, debt is a cause of violence, of inequality, of situation whereby the powerful take advantage of less developed countries needing funds.
Costa Rican President Luis Guillermo Solís signed a decree on Thursday, opening the way for women seeking to undergo in vitro fertilization. The presidential order was issued to comply with a 2012 ruling by the Inter-American Human Rights Court. Costa Rica had banned the fertilization technique in the year 2000 due to pressure from the Catholic Church. The decree was met with opposition from the board of directors of the Social Security system. And here now is a brief of other stories making headlines across the globe.
The United Nations General Assembly voted overwhelmingly to approve raising the Palestinian flag at the UN headquarters in New York City. The resolution was voted by 119 votes in favor, 45 abstentions and 8 votes against. The resolution also requests the Secretary General to take necessary measures for the implementation of this decision during the 70th session of the General Assembly within 20 days of its adoption. The UN granted Palestine the status of non-member state in 2012. This is an implicit and symbolic recognition of Palestine's statehood.
The General Assembly has today sent an important message to our people that cannot be underestimated, for it comes at a very critical time in their long journey for freedom and dignity.
In Spain, the campaign for a Catalan election portrayed as a proxy vote on independence for the wealthy northeastern region has kicked off. Catalan President Artur Mas has joined the left-wing ERC in a pro-independence movement called Junts pel Sí, which is expected to win 60 to 61 seats September 27. Mas has said that a separatist majority of at least 68 seats in the 135-member Catalan parliament is the minimum needed to launch a roadmap to secession within 18 months.
Together we have done everything in our hands, and we will keep on doing it until September 27, and after that. We have done everything in our hands, everything we could do to change this status quo, and to lead Catalonia to real change, a positive one written with capital letters, to become a normal country like all our neighbors in Europe. That is what we have done.
Refugees keep pouring into Western Europe as a result of the U.S. policies in the Middle East, which have sparked violence, war, and the displacement of tens of millions of people. In the last 24 hours alone, 7,600 Syrian refugees have entered Macedonia via Greece. At least 850,000 people are expected to cross the Mediterranean, seeking refuge in Europe this year and the next. UN Refugee Agency officials said they expect the flow of asylum seekers to continue.
So yesterday we had over 7,600 people arriving from 6 p.m. to 6 p.m. This night we had already 3 trains leaving. I'm waiting for the latest figures now, but it seems that there are several thousands who have left already again.
Do you expect the same wave of refugees in upcoming days?
Yes, we have information from our Greek colleagues that the buses are on their way, so they will be coming and they continue to come. Our hope is that it won't be a sudden influx.
In Hungary, police have launched an investigation after online videos showed immigration officers throwing food at hungry refugees as if they were animals. The videos have drawn international condemnation and indignation. The video shows how a crowd of refugees clamours for food at a reception center in Roski, Hungary. Police in surgical masks can be seen throwing packs of sandwiches at them. An Austrian's official wife who took the video said officials failed to treat refugees like human beings.
The director and the stars of a Venezuelan film set in Caracas called Desde Allá walked the red carpet at the Venice Film Festival for the premiere of their new movie. Now, the film, directed by Venezuelan director Lorenzo Vigas, shows a wealthy, middle-aged man approaching young men in the street and offering them money to strip naked in his apartment. He never physically interacts with the men he brings back to his home, but he starts to feel obsessed about one of the young men who comes to his flat. Vigas explains his film further.
I think it's a film about emotional needs more than sexuality. Something happened in Armando's life that makes him do what he does. Just watch. He doesn't touch. He just like to watch. And Elder, the younger character, hasn't had a father in his life. So it's more about emotional needs than about sexuality. And then it becomes something else. Then the story drives them to something else. But at the beginning, it's about emotional needs.
For more on these and other stories, please visit our website, telesurtv.net/English. For Telesur English, I'm Regan Devines. We'll have another news brief for you just after midday. Have a great morning.